Hello, everyone, and welcome to Webinar Wednesday. Thank you for joining us this afternoon. My name is Ria Stark, and I'm the Digital Engagement Manager here at TLC. This is the third webinar from our Back to School series. We've been working to get our school librarians and administrators ready for the year ahead. But if you were not able to join us last month for part 1 and 2, that's okay. Stick around. Each part is a standalone webinar, and you can always catch the replays of part 1 and 2 later in our archive. So now last time we brought Phillip on to show everybody the ins and outs of LS2 Staff, which is the main staff interface from our schools-focused library management system, Library.Solution for Schools. And we were also hoping to talk more about the PAC interface, but we had so much great content that we ran out of time. Hence our webinar today. We invited Phillip back, and this time we'll be talking about how to optimize your PAC or your online catalog. And this is everything from searching and browsing the catalog to creating book lists, and we'll look at borrower accounts and custom PAC configuration. So lots of good stuff. Stay tuned. Before I pass the microphone, I do have a few reminders I like to go over every time. First, we are live. This is a September afternoon, and so thank you all for taking the time out of your busy schedules to join us. And as a live participant, you have the opportunity to ask our panelists questions. So if you think of anything throughout the presentation, please add that into the question section and we'll answer everything at the end. And if you would like to rewatch this webinar later or share it with some of your colleagues, we do highly encourage that. We are recording, and you can catch the replay of this webinar as well as part 1 and part 2 in our webinar archives at tlcdelivers.com/webinars. I'll mention that again at the end, so don't need to write that down just yet. And finally, before you log out today, be sure to snag those handouts. There's a lot to cover, and some of those handouts may provide more information than we have time to get to. So those are my housekeeping items. Please join me in welcoming back our presenter, Phillip Green, our sales engineer for Library.Solution. Phillip, thank you so much for lending your expertise on all things PAC today.
Hi, Ria. Thanks. Hello, everyone. Good afternoon. Let's go ahead and begin with our miniature slideshow here. So again, have we gotten ready to go back LS2 school? If you know me, you know that I enjoy my puns. I thought this was a great opportunity to work in an LS2 reference. What we plan on covering for you today is we want to remind everybody about customizing the landing page or the home page of the PAC. And the ability to use widgets anywhere on any website you like throughout your schools. We have a search widget that's available in the online administration. It's free to use. It's as simple as copy and paste. A reminder that there are multiple ways to log into the PAC. I'd like to highlight the third-party resource integration. We're going to be reminding everyone about the reading program integration, and if you haven't upgraded to version 5, once you do upgrade to LS5, you will have the ability to populate reading program data free of charge from TLC with Accelerator Reader and Lexile, so that might be a reason for you to upgrade. Enhance content with a new recommendations feature that's coming soon. We're going to tease that out for you a little bit here today. RSS feeds, indexing websites and news feeds. Are you using them? If you are, that's fantastic. You can have as many as you like, and if you're not, it might be something to consider implementing this year. We're going to mention the tagging and the improvements to tag management. I'm going to show a couple examples of STEM objects where with the new version of LS2 cataloging, you can input local images, and then we'll give you a refresher on LS2 Kids.
Phillip, while you're jumping to the next screen, do you mind if I jump in with a quick poll?
Yep, let's get that one started.
So everyone, on your screen in just a moment, you'll see our first poll, which is asking whether or not your school system uses customized PAC configurations for your libraries. So yes, do you have a variety of PAC configurations? Maybe you weren't aware that's something you could do, and we'll show you what that looks like in a little bit. Maybe no, all of your schools use the exact same configuration, or maybe this doesn't apply. Maybe you are a public library or maybe a one-site school system, whatever the case may be. Go ahead and answer that poll, and we'll show the results in just a moment. Ooh, yay, 100%, outstanding. Everyone is using a variety of PAC configurations. We love to see it. All right, thanks, Philip. Back to you.
All right, terrific. Thank you. That is good to know. So we won't have to spend much time mentioning that. We'll go ahead and jump in here, and we'll take a look at my Brahms High School. So since everyone is using the customized configurations, the one thing I do want to remind you about is each school indeed can have their own carousels and landing pages, even multiple pages. You may have one in your general reading area, but you may have a separate one for your reference department if you have a larger library. But the one thing to consider is providing your students a link to a district search. So that would be a config that is unfiltered and searches across all schools. Keep in mind that even when students are searching across all schools, the same circulation and hold rules will apply. So if you are not allowing them to circulate items from particular locations, the system will still prevent them from placing holds or requesting those items. So you can still give them the ability to explore throughout the district, but based upon the circulation rules, it will still be active while they're trying to conduct actions while they're in the PAC. So let's take a look at the spell check. The new spell check and spelling suggestion has been in the last few versions, especially the move with our Oracle Cloud going to OCI. This is coming through faster now for your students. So as they begin to type, they'll get a quicker response time. And as a reminder, we're only showing them items that are in your catalog. This is not a generic database, so they will only see frequent searches and suggested authors or subjects or titles that are in their school database. So this will give them a direct path to what they're looking for without confusing them by sending them down a dead end. Additionally, again, depending on what version of Library.Solution for Schools you are using, you're going to have the ability for your students and your staff to log in with their ID numbers or what we call easy username. So in this example, I'm going to log in as a teacher. So this would be Gary. But you may also, depending on the version, have not realized, because this can be turned on or off, there's an option to sign in with Google now. Google is not tracking anything that your students or users are doing. This is simply authenticating them in the browser. So this is like going to any other web page and clicking log in with Facebook or log in with Google. It is just passing on the credentials based upon how they're logged into their web browser. So this might be a nifty feature for them to use from at home or on their local personal device. So we're going to go ahead and log in as Gary. So I'm logged in as a teacher now, and we're going to come to that in just a moment. We do offer third-party integration with several popular resources, such as EBSCO, Britannica, multiple Gale databases, WorldBook. So you have the ability to aggregate search results from many popular third-party resources. And once the user's logged into the PAC, they have the option to go directly to the resource without being logged in or asked for login credentials again. So if we find something we're interested in, say in WorldBook here, we can click on that and go right through to WorldBook, and we'll be able to access the resource immediately without having to log in again or being taken to another screen. If you have subscriptions to these third-party resources, TLC does not charge anything extra to turn this feature on for you. If you have subscriptions to EBSCO, Britannica, Gale, WorldBook, Encyclopedia Britannica, things like that, just let us know. And if it's not working in your system right now or it's not turned on, we can do that for you and there's no additional charge. So I mentioned we logged in as Gary, who is a teacher. I'm going to switch over to Gary's account real quick for us here. And in Gary's account, we have a linked accounts feature now. So this was introduced with the last update to Library.Solution for Schools. So this is a way for teachers or homeroom teachers to get a snapshot of student activity. This is not going to show any private information like the title of the books or what they've checked out, anything like that. This is going to simply give the teacher a snapshot so they can let their students know that they have items that are overdue, they have holds that are ready to be picked up, or they owe fines. And we also have reports for this as well. Go back to our carousel. We'll go to some ebooks. Again, we have ebook integration. We have direct API integration with Mac and VIA, Overdrive, and Baker and Taylor's Access 360. So your students, once they're logged in and they locate an item they like, they can go directly to the material. A request will be sent to the third-party vendor, and they get the option to download the item right here in the catalog. You can disable downloading at the workstations within the library. So if it detects the student is coming from a school IP address, it will prevent them from downloading to the PAC stations. But if they're at home or on their tablet device, they can download immediately or choose download later, which will give them the ability when they go to their account again to see their physical items and their electronic materials checked out side by side, and then they get the option to download again once they've accessed the PAC from their own personal device. Mac even provides the ability to return items early, so you can return items early to remove it from your account so you can go check out another item. Like I mentioned a few minutes ago, we have the reading program integration from Accelerator Reader and Lexile. And now in version 5, that information is provided to you free of charge. It is automatically updated with a nightly process in your PAC. So your students can search for a material or a subject or a title, whatever they like, and then they get the option to filter by reading level here. So let's go look at the high school version of A Tale of Two Cities. Or if they want to be more specific about the reading levels or search for a broader topic, we have the reading level search, which would allow them to search and arrange. Oops, sorry about that. My number key got turned off there. Here we are. And let's look for books with space as a key word for reading level 9 through 12. And there we are. Again, this feature just needs to be turned on. So if you're not taking advantage of this right now, reach out to support and we'll take care of this for you free of charge very quickly. Something else I mentioned a few minutes ago is the improvements to tagging. If you turn this feature on, students can tag materials once they search for them. This kind of provides curated results for your individual schools. So students can tag materials like with the word fantasy or sci-fi or maybe fantasy fiction, popular terms that your students are using. They can tag those items in the PAC. So I search for fantasy as a tag, and I want to see materials that other students, my peers, thought were important enough to add that tag to. And one of them is The Alchemist. Now, another reason I chose to display The Alchemist is we have enhanced or I should say expanded the enhanced content. ProQuest Unbound, formerly of Syndetics, has now started to provide even more information to your students. We have the borrower reviews, which again, this can be turned on or off, and borrower reviews so your students can write reviews. We actually have school districts that are currently TLC customers that are using PAC reviews as part of the grading process. So this might be a way to encourage your students to write reviews. So in this example, you can see I wrote a review that said this was recommended to me by a friend, and I finally took the time to read it, and it was fantastic. I rated it 4.5 stars, and that's really simple to do with the star rating system. Then we have our professionally vetted and professionally written reviews coming from Unbound. We have the related materials tab, similar titles, similar authors, additional story elements, more ratings and review coming in from Goodreads, and additional reading program data. Suggestions for other top picks and other authors they may like, other forms of content. And then there's a word cloud with tags that you can then search through the PAC with other tags. And if the student would like even more information, we can click on the more info button and we'll get a professional summary, some additional award data, your look insides, excerpts, view the cover, view the table of contents, more about the author, more writings from the author, etc. Now I'm going to pause right here because we're talking about content. I believe we have another poll. I'll hand this back over to Ria.
Thank you, Philip. Yes, we do have 2 more polls that we want to share. So those will come up on your screen in just a moment. The first one will be about primary content providers. So we want to know where you're getting your physical materials from. Is it one of these vendors, or maybe it's someone that we don't have mentioned? And if that's the case, please go ahead and add into the questions panel. We'll still be able to see that information. But we're interested where you're getting the majority of your resources from. And while that's on the screen, Philip, we did get a question that came in. I'll ask that to you now while we're still talking about it. When you brought up the borrower reviews, we had a question of whether or not there can be a blocked word list or a way to approve reviews before they're published to the PAC.
Certainly. So for the sake of civility, I will not show you the blocked word list, but there is a block word list in LS2 PAC admin that's pre-populated by TLC, which you can also edit. If you do not have permission to do that, reach out to your administrators, or if you do have administration privileges in LS2 and you're not sure where it's at, contact support. It's really easy to access and you can edit it. So if there is regional slang being used and you need to add words to that to account for that, you can do that via the edit feature. And you can have the review set to automatically publish, provided no word in the review matches anything on the dirty word list, or everything can go to a queue for you to review manually. So both features are available for you, and you can also edit that block word list.
Perfect, thanks, Philip. And we have the results back from that first poll. It looks like it's a fairly even split across Follett and Baker and Taylor, and then in second place, Mackin and Ingram. All right, we'll have one more poll for you all as well. This one has more to do with whether or not you're using enhanced content. So these would be some of the features that Philip just showed, like the reviews coming from Synthetix or the word clouds, things like that. So if yes, you're using them, you're not currently using them, but interested to, hit that second one and we can send you some more info about that. Or no, if you're not using it, or maybe you're not sure. So we'll leave that up for just another moment. And as a reminder, if you do have any questions, please go ahead and add them into the questions panel. If we'll be able to get to those at the end of the session, or if there's pauses between to transition, we can ask them there as well. And then also to remember to grab those handouts before you log out. Sometimes people forget, and we do post them the next day, but it's good to have them available now. All right, we have the results of that, and 60% are using enhanced content. That's great. 20% would like more info. We will get that to you after the webinar, and 20% are not sure. All right, I'll hand it back to you, Philip.
All right, thanks. So I went over to the admin page real quick to show where the review portion is. It's under the LS2 settings. There's a link for borrower reviews and tags. This will be where you see tag reviews, is also where you will see the borrower reviews that are pending. So you can see in this queue, I have one that I have not approved because it's just gibberish to use as an example. And you can see there's a checkbox that says automatically approve. And again, that is based on, predicated upon no bad words in the review. The other thing I wanted to mention here too is that for the administrators out there, you can empower staff members to have access to LS2 administration, even if they're not an ILS administrator. So you can have a local administrator for the PAC at each school that maybe doesn't necessarily have access to the LS2 preferences, which is the online system administration. So you can empower local staff members to have PAC control without giving them the keys to the castle there. All right, that was good feedback from the poll. That actually makes me even more excited to mention the next thing I wanted to talk about. And I saw there was a fair amount of Follett responses there. They have had a feature that allows staff members to curate lists and publish them for their students to see, to make recommendations, and then link them to other materials. similar to having a list on the homepage carousel, but this will let teachers create lists, your teachers and librarians create lists of suggested reading for your students. They can be shown, shared, hidden, only shared with staff members, placed on the PAC homepage, placed on the school's website. It's going to be a really neat feature coming out here in a few months, and it's going to provide you the ability to create personally curated lists for your students to read. There's several other features that we're just not allowed to talk about yet, but bear in mind that we've heard your request for being able to create more lists and have more guidance for your students on what to read, when to read, and what recommendations that you're making for them. So we will have a fantastic new feature coming out from ProQuest here in a few months. So keep your ears open for that and stay tuned. Right. Let me log out of Gary's account here and log in as an administrator. I mentioned the tagging a few minutes ago. We have enabled now, again, if you're a PAC administrator, you don't have to be an ILS administrator to access this feature anymore. So when we go into the administrator, PAC administrator enabled account, and we come to our configuration button, we now have tag management. So we start to type and it will give us the tags that are matching the search criteria. So you can see here, I have fantasy, actually one with a capital F, one with a lowercase f. We have fantasy book. This gives you the option to remove one at a time, or you can batch remove tags from those materials. And if I click on the link, it will even take me to the items that are tagged with that phrase that we have seen in the management page. So the ability for local administrators to manage tags is now available as well in version 5.6. So if you're not on version 5.6 or newer, that feature is now available. So that might be, again, another reason to talk about upgrading the software. All right, we were off to a wild first week of football, so that made me think that that should be a search term I display for you here today, so we can show off the news feeds. Again, you're going to search your local catalog, your third-party databases, your electronic resources, but we also have the newsfeed capability. So virtually any website can be indexed via RSS. We have customers that use this to index local newspapers and television stations and radio shows so they can get local information, but also, you know, national or international news feeds. So if I search for football and I want to know something going on in the world of football in real time, I can go maybe to New York Times. Here's things about college football. Here's a story about Russell Wilson, who had an interesting return to Seattle this weekend. So the RSS feeds can be turned on or off. Like I said, you can create as many as you like. And this feature allows your students, or enables your students, I should say, to find resources and stories and items they may be interested in reading that are outside library walls. The one thing to bear in mind is it will open a new page if I go to the site. So that might be something you have to ask IT about if your PAC stations are super locked down. It may not allow the student to open an additional tab or web page. So that is one thing just to remember if you're trying to set that up and you seem to be having any problems. All right, I'm going to switch pages real quick here because I want to show off, as I mentioned earlier, the ability to catalog with local images. So in LS2 cataloging, a few updates back, again, depending on what version of LS you're on, you may or may not have seen this feature, and that is the ability to display an image that you have linked to yourself. So what we've done here is I've cataloged a STEM device called the Merge EDU Cube Kit. This is a VR, AR learning kit. It's you put your telephone in it, and it provides augmented and virtual reality learning. The students can look at things all around them throughout, you know, anywhere they are in the world, and it will give them an AR and VR experience related to what they're looking at. These are really cool. If you visited our booth at ALA or PLA over the last 2 or 3 years, just before COVID, just after COVID, you may have seen one of these on display. This is really neat. But the reason I'm showing this is, there is not a picture of this available in ProQuest enhanced content. So what I have done is I have linked it to an image that I have stored, maybe Google Drive in the photos, photo bucket. Maybe the manufacturer has a persistent link to an image on their website. You can use that URL to provide a local image to show in the PAC, even if it's not available via enhanced content. Same thing as maybe you're allowing students to borrow Wi-Fi hotspots, for instance. So very easy to use, very easy to do. If you have any questions, please reach out to support. It's very simple to accomplish the local image linking. We'd be happy to show you how to do that. And then lastly, I'm sure we're all familiar with LS2 Kids. You might be in a high school and maybe haven't seen this before, but I just wanted to bring this up again and remind everyone we do have a dedicated emerging reader catalog. This was designed from the ground up with your youngest readers in mind. It's extremely important to get your students interested in reading by at a young age. If you haven't captured their excitement for reading, typically by about grade 5 or 6, it's going to be very difficult to convince them to be lifelong readers and learners. So we've made this very simple for students to use. Your youngest students clear down the pre-K, they'll be able to walk up to the catalog. You might have a mouse or a touch screen. It's as simple as clicking on the picture of a book they like or touching the screen, and that will go into the material. Give them a really friendly interface, letting them know if the item is checked in or checked out. There'll be a big red square if it's checked out. And they also have an easy to understand image for the format, as well as the little page turn to let them know what the reading level is. Let's see if we can find one that's checked out here. There we are. So the red square that says out, we also learned that in our usability testing that the child was clicking on that red square that said out. So instead of them having to click through and find a placeholder or make request button, sorry, this is checked out. Would you like it when it's checked back in? I can say yes, and then we'll log in. Oops. Let's try mine. Hold on, working on it. Welcome back, Philip. You did it. You placed your hold. So Scout even interacts with the student to let them know they placed a hold. Now, if they do click through to the summary display, again, you'll see a button that says, I want this. We think this was really something, not just us, but every other vendor has overlooked this. A 6-year-old child does not know what the term place hold or make request means. But if you're in the grocery store and they see a candy bar, they'll say, I want that. So we said, you know what? Let's make the hold button, I want this. And we've done that when they click through to the summary, and we have gotten a lot more feedback and interaction from the student at this young age level, and they're placing holds more easily and more efficiently. The other thing to mention with the series and chapter books is we are now over 400 curated series and characters for this series and chapter books display. What we are doing, if you're not familiar with how that works, is we have those hundreds of categories. And yes, we have traditional numerical series like the Magic Treehouse. But if you have books like Babar or Dr. Seuss books, things that aren't a traditional numerical series, we still group them together because that's where young children expect them to be. So if you click on The Cat in the Hat Comes Back, the child expects to also see One Fish, Two Fish, Hop on Pop, Green Eggs and Ham. So that's what we call curated content, curated series. So we have over 400 of those now as of the last update to Library.Solution. And the same thing with categories, a new approach here. Again, if you're new to TLC or the LS2 Kids catalog, we did months and months and months, over a year, I believe it was, of usability testing. And we found that children didn't think in a hierarchical or a drill down manner. If you gave them a traditional catalog where they had to go layer by layer by layer to find what they were looking for, say such as, I want to learn about tigers, so let's go to animals, jungle animals, large cats, get the tigers. They typically didn't find what they were looking for if they had to go through more than 2 or 3 button clicks. So we just decided to show them pictures of tigers, etc. So this makes it a lot more approachable and makes it easier for them to use. And we have over 175 categories here for you as well, with more coming out with every update. And just like we have in the quote unquote, secondary or grown-up catalog, we'll have the spelling suggestion for them here. So I start typing out dino, I get dinosaurs, or maybe I spell it wrong, I get close. So Scout says, nope, how about dinosaurs? And that will take me to my result list. And then when the student's done and they log out, bye, Philip, come back soon. And then the other thing Scout is going to do for you is when they have clicked through, we learned one other thing. We used to have a little picture up here in the corner that looked like the PAC, a little miniature icon for the PAC. For anyone typically around middle school age and up, the upper left corner of a website is where they know to click to go back to the home page. Children weren't doing that. They were clicking on Scout or his doghouse. So we made this whole area the home button so they can easily get back to the start page. All right, I just looked at my notes and realized I forgot one thing for you, and that was over here on the secondary catalog. And this is a feature that actually kind of came out of testing the children's catalog. We found that secondary students and adults alike enjoy the ability to kind of browse by pictures. So when you click on an item, once you have searched for an item, you get a result. We have our virtual shelf browse. Now this can be turned on or off. So if you don't have this feature right now and you like it, let us know and we can turn this on for you. It's built into the system. There's a checkbox that we need to enable. So the virtual shelf browse enables your students to see items on the shelf order. So just like they're walking through the stacks. So that virtual shelf browse might make it easier for them to find something they're looking for. The initial search is a relevancy ranking search, whereas this will be a shelf order search or a shelf order browse. So virtual shelf browse has been extremely popular, especially during times of COVID. It makes it easier to locate items that are similar to the exact item you're currently looking at. So again, if you don't have that feature and you like it turned on, just let us know. We can do that for you or walk you through it. It's very simple to enable. All right, Ria, I think that covers everything I was going to talk about today. So we're right on that 30-minute mark. So we'll go ahead and open back up the questions.
Thank you, Philip. And yes, we did have a question that came in that I want to bring up now before we launch our last poll. So let me read that out for you. The question is whether you would go over tag management again. They're on version 5.6, but can't find it on their screen. So if you could just give us a recap of tag management.
So tags need to be turned on in the PAC, in the LS2 admin. And that is in the LS2 PAC portion of admin. You would choose the configuration you're working with. And then there is a button here that says allow tagging that can be turned on or off. Once that's enabled, you should then see the ability to add tags in the result set. So when we're here on the title result, you should have an option here to add tags. Now I'm having an issue with the user that I'm using today. I saw this before we began. I'm not sure why I don't have the little box here, but there should be a box right here that says add tag. And that would allow your PAC users, so your students or your teachers, to add a tag to the item. Then again, under advanced searching, you can search by tag. And when you're logged in as an administrator, you go to the user account and we come to the configuration tab. And you can see we have the landing page configuration. And then there's also a tab to switch to tag management. And this is going to be where you get the display of all the tags that are currently in use. Does that answer the question about tagging?
Yeah, thank you, Philip. If not, please submit a second question. And if you're still not seeing it, you can always submit that ticket to support and they'll be able to look at your exact instance and see if there's something else that maybe we're not able to cover in this webinar. All right, we'll open it up to the rest of Q&A. So, oh, yep, she responded, yes, thanks. Perfect.
Terrific.
We'll go ahead and do more Q&A. So if you are thinking about anything and you want to ask us a question, please go ahead and submit that now. And then in the meantime, we do have one final poll that we would like to share with everybody. This is the one we ask at the end of every webinar, and it's whether or not you would like more information about TLC products and services. And so if you do want to ask us a question, or if you're just looking for more information or some of the things that Phillip mentioned today that you didn't realize we could do, and would like to learn as much as you possibly can, go ahead and hit that yes, please contact me, and we'll be able to follow up with you following the webinar. So we'll leave that on the screen for just a moment while we let some more of those questions come in. And while we're waiting on some of those, I did want to mention, if you're jonesing for more schools content, we did recently launch our microsite on LS Community for school-specific content. So we basically took everything that was on Community, we weeded through it to find the best information for schools, and put it in a nice organized format to get you something right at your fingertips. So that is available on LS Community, and you can current customers can log in and navigate to that site to get access to it. And thank you, Justin, just posted that in the chat for everybody. That is the link to our marketing materials. The other thing I wanted to mention is that we also launched some of the imagery that Phillip showed in the LS2 Kids PAC. We had a customer ask us if they would be able to use some of that for shelf finders, which we thought was an excellent idea to be able to connect both the PAC with the physical items on the shelf. So we did make those images available for our customers. You can log into Community and grab those marketing materials. And also, September is a library card sign-up month, and our Scout icon is also promoting that as well, so you can grab some of those promotional materials. All right, I haven't seen any other questions come in so far, so it looks like we were able to answer everything. Phillip, I'll have you go to the next slide, and I'll kind of go through our end credits, and if I catch another question, I'll bring that up. So our next webinar is coming up. It is on Carl.solution, and you can register for that at tlcdelivers.com/webinars. That's also the same URL you can go to get the recordings for all of the webinars we do here. We record all of them, and we keep them on the website, and they're available at any time for you to go in and rewatch some of your favorites, or if we went too fast on something, you can watch and slow it down, and also to share with your colleagues. So if you liked what you saw today and you want to pass it along to some of your coworkers, please grab that link there and send it over. We are happy to be able to spread the word. So that's tlcdelivers.com/webinars. I'll also mention that our user conference is coming up. It's November 1st through the 3rd, and registration is live, and the schedule is available. So if you haven't had a chance to see that, I highly encourage you do so. The URL to access it is tlcu.live, L-I-V-E, and be sure to share that with your colleagues as well to get registered for that conference. And then if there's more content that you would like to see, we're always taking requests. So the website on your screen, tlcdelivers.com/webinars, also has a link out to a webinar request form. So if there's something that you'd really like us to put on for you as a webinar or to send additional training materials, please reach out to us there and we would be happy to share that. All right, no more questions have come in, so we'll go ahead and release everybody. That's what we have for you today. And thank you, Phillip, for lending your expertise to us and showing us the PAC.
Thanks, everybody. Have a great afternoon and welcome back to school.
We'll see you on the next one.